When assignments are packed tight and graded on quick recall, students learn to rush, which suffocates the time required for deep creative thought. Over the next 5 minutes, we are going to use core cognitive psychology principles to rebuild one of your upcoming lesson plans. We will use this visual framework to track our progress, moving from a rigid, standard lesson on the left to a fully integrated creative lesson on the right. To make this practical, grab a lesson you need to teach soon, maybe a novel study or a math unit, along with a blank document to sketch out your new approach. You cannot simply tell students to be creative and expect results. You have to actively architect a classroom environment that permits, models, and rewards that type of thinking. Step 1 is building in delayed gratification. Creative insights rarely strike on command. Students need time to toss ideas around and understand a problem from multiple angles. Look at the assignment you brought. If it is a short-term task like a single-day essay, stretch it out into a multi-week project designed around incremental milestones. In a primary science class, for example, you can replace a single reading about life cycles with a long-term project where students keep a physical log of an avocado growing over several months. Or in high school social studies, before you explain the outcome of a major World War II battle, require the class to research the specific, grounded circumstances of the individual troops involved. Take a moment with your own lesson plan and write down at least 2 incremental milestones your students must hit before they reach the final deliverable. By removing the immediate payoff of a quick grade, students practice working continuously without interim rewards. They learn the discipline of making incremental efforts for long-term gains. Step 2 requires adding a cross-fertilization prompt. Traditional school environments often treat learning as discrete boxes, math, science, or social studies, which isolates concepts. To break those barriers down, ask your students to identify their strongest academic subject or favorite personal hobby, and then apply that interest directly to the subject they find difficult. If you have a student struggling to understand math, ask them to draft new geometry problems based entirely on the field dimensions and physics of a baseball game. You can connect science and social studies in the same way, perhaps by having a student analyze the scientific logistics and data trends driving a recent national political campaign. Look at your notes and write out one open prompt that explicitly gives your students permission to bring an outside interest into the subject material you are teaching. This method grounds abstract, difficult concepts in a context the student already enjoys, which lowers anxiety and motivates engagement. Step 3 is inserting a what-if scenario. You need to present questions that force students to step completely outside the usual rules of the subject and consider alternative realities. To do this, construct your prompt around specific action verbs. Write words like create, imagine, suppose, or invent directly into the assignment. In a language arts class, you might ask students what they would write if they had to craft a contemporary ending to a graphic novel like Wuthering Heights. In social studies, you can raise the stakes with alternate history, asking the class to contemplate what society would look like today if Nazi Germany had won World War II. The purpose of these scenarios is not to test rote factual recall. The goal is to verify that the student can apply analytical thinking to synthesize existing facts into an original, coherent thought. Finally, step 4 is updating your grading rubric. Students are exquisitely sensitive to what teachers value when it comes to the bottom line. They will follow the metrics you grade. Many educators hesitate here because evaluating creative responses means sacrificing some of the clean objectivity you get from a multiple-choice test. But research shows that evaluators are remarkably consistent in their assessment of creativity when they know what to look for. Update your rubric right now. Add a new category specifically designated for creative synthesis and effort. This measures a student's ability to combine existing facts with their own thoughts. It does not depend on whether you personally agree with the premise they generate. Ultimately, it is better to ask for creative work and evaluate it with slightly less objectivity than to evaluate students exclusively on uncreative output. Let's review the framework we just mapped out. By incorporating an incremental timeline, cross-fertilization, an open prompt, and a creative rubric, you have rebuilt your approach. You have converted that standard lecture plan into an active, cross-disciplinary exercise that models actual creative thinking. Children develop creativity not when they are told to, but when they are shown how. Leading by example and designing lessons like this is the strongest environmental influence you possess. We want to see what you built. Drop the specific suppose or imagine prompt you just designed into the comments below so other educators can borrow your ideas. This focus prepares students for unscripted real-world challenges, providing them with a mental toolkit that remains useful long after they leave your classroom.